In May of 2015, I posted a cheeky video about fixing the infamous basement music from the director's cut dual shock version of Resident Evil 1. Since I was someone who already messed around with various music and audio editing software, I thought it would be something fun to show my friends, and that's pretty much it. Little did I know that this fix would get noticed by a number of people in and outside of the Resident Evil community, including well-known Let's Play content creators, news article sites, and various people covering gaming in general. I was even contacted personally at one point by a freelance journalist, Jack Yarwood of Time Extension, covering the basement theme and Mamoru Samuragochi, the Resident Evil composer faking his deafness. Many people treat this as if I had discovered a truth about why the basement track ended up this way, some even stating misinformation about how I created the fix, but what is the reality behind all of this? What is my story? I'm here to finally go over that. First, I want to correct information on how this fix was created. Unfortunately, some coverage on this had made claims that AI was used. In my email to Yarwood especially, I'd mentioned I used a transcribing tool many years ago, one that's way less perfect than AI transcribing tools that exist now. At the time I had forgotten what the name of the software was and should have clarified that the software did not use AI. So what did I use? Amazing Midi is a music transcription software by a Japanese creator that goes by Araki Software. It was created in 2003. According to the website, Amazing Midi automatically transcribes music, converting WAV files into MIDI files. It can recognize single instrument polyphonic music. It's a powerful tool to help you transcribe music, to practice musical instruments, and to make MIDI files, and so on. It basically scans waveforms to convert them, and this is a method used in various other transcribing software as well. I'll show you how it works. So this is Amazing Midi. Now, I'm not going to be able to recreate what exactly I did for converting the basement theme over to the version that I have uploaded, the fix, but I can sort of show you how this works. So, originally I had the MP3 of the basement theme converted over to a WAV file, so you would input a WAV file into Amazing Midi. So we have our WAV loaded, and now what you want to do is to specify a tone file. They have a few options here. The default is based on a piano. There's two types of pianos, pulse and scene. So there's a few here, but I usually use just piano. Just use the default. And you go to transcribe, and there's a few options here. So you have this option here, which goes between analyzing the dim sounds or ignoring the dim sounds, leaves the dim notes or deletes the dim notes, leaves the short notes or deletes the short notes. And you can also, I haven't really used the spectrum analysis, but this is a thing down here. And then at the bottom is where you can change the instruments for the MIDI file. Now, I believe what I used, I told people that I used a voice, but I think this is incorrect. I believe I used choir. So we're going to hit start. So it does its analysis. Now I'm going to pause it right there. As you note, this is a very, very imperfect. It's nowhere near the fix that I uploaded, and that's the thing with this. It is not perfect at transcribing. You would have to play with the options here. And after that, what I believe I did is I would take this, it outputs it to a MIDI file, just name it, whatever you choose, and then you can take this and put it into any audio editing software that you have where you can edit MIDIs. And the best thing to do with this, because there's so many notes generated, and of course in the original track that was the problem with the way it sounded, especially since it used the trumpet as the instrument, was it had so many notes that sound like they conflict with each other. So unfortunately I don't have the original, like if I had a project file in another audio editing software. I do not have that anymore. But I believe what I did is actually trimmed off a lot of the fat of the file that it generated through this program. So you notice there's a ton of notes here that it generated. So I believe what I did was just I had to clean a lot of it up. I had to trim off as many of those conflicting notes as possible to get something that sounds a bit smoother. And then of course it's the instrument set to the choir. And then I believe with the final version of it, since I output it to MP3, in the audio editing software I used, it was probably something like Magix, because I use Magix a lot. I added reverb to it, and maybe some other effects to kind of adjust the way it sounds so it sounds more spooky. So that's really all I did. And this software still exists now. Today you can make use of it. There's likely better transcription tools. But yes, this is something that just required a lot of cleanup, but it's something that exists that you can convert audio files to MIDIs. Now, when I was working on this and uploading it, keep in mind, I only vaguely knew about the deaf composer Mamoru Samuragochi, and I don't even remember if I knew he was involved in the soundtrack for Resident Evil Director's Cut DualShock version. So I wasn't correcting something I thought was an error in the sound font used, or even using the supposedly right sound font the track was meant to have. I was simply doing something fun out of curiosity, and that's it. It's not deeper than that. Of course, the theories about this have been all over the place, and despite my intentions being pretty basic, perhaps it sparked a discussion about something no one thought of before. I will say getting so much attention over this throwaway video is strange at times, compared to everything else I've done on the internet. Google even lists me as a musician, but not because I've actually done music for indie game dev products and mods, but because of this one single video. If you want to read about the whole deal with Mamoru Samuragochi faking his deafness and revealing his work was done by a ghost composer, plus the history behind the soundtracks of classic Resident Evil games, there are plenty of videos and articles on that, including the one by Time Extension, which I'll link in the description below. I won't go over it myself, but I do want to take this opportunity to react to other people's reactions of this basement theme fix, which includes some of the theories people had about how the track came about. I want to mention that the very first time I started seeing increased attention on the video was when it was mentioned in an episode of Castle Super Beast. I'm not entirely sure who sent them the video or how they came across it, but since then, of course, there's been a lot of coverage on the basement theme fix. Now, give me a moment. I'm going to switch gears here so I can react to all the content and comments that have been posted in relation to this over time. Hello. So I switched to the Resident Evil 1 mansion in VR, and let's take a look at everything that I have here. Okay, so this is the episode, the podcast with Pat and Wooly, I believe, that mentioned the basement theme fix. Now, the video was uploaded in 2025, but I think this is definitely from, I thought it was from a few years ago when they first mentioned it. Maybe I'm wrong. It would be interesting to know who actually sent them, the video about the fix, or how they found out about it. I still don't know how they came across it. Would be interesting to know. Let me go ahead and play it here.
But, no, it sounds really good. It sounds great. And on top of that...
No clowns farting in this one, right?
No. So, oh man! Somebody sent me a fucking link to this wild discovery about the clowns farting.
Clown farts.
What's
so
that?
If anybody knows about clown farts, there's a track in the Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut that is the worst track ever made by a human. It's called Mansion Basement. Go look it up. It's mythical in how awful it is. They suspect that it was recorded with the wrong instruments. And they made a version using all the same notes.
Well, it's MIDI, right?
No. It's
Isn't it just MIDI and then they put the wrong
Now I'm wondering where he got the source of that from, because I didn't I did the fix, but I didn't know anything about correcting it or if it was incorrect instrumentation or anything like that. The theories about the incorrect instrumentation I think came after I did the fix. I don't know if it existed before.
fucking note chart over it?
It's horns.
Okay. But no, but I mean, like like when something's is programmed in like as in MIDI, you can change the instruments. The notes are just there,
Oh, okay.
and you can change like your sound bank. You can basically change it to horns or vocals or whatever you want it to be.
Well,
and if you put the wrong ones, then you get something that sounds terrible.
like clown farts.
But you can change. It's like the fucking like Mario. Anyway, yes,
because somebody
you can dress it up to be whatever you
sent
want.
me a YouTube video of them redoing the composition with different instruments, and it sounds fairly creepy and fine. And it's like, oh, of course the guy couldn't know that they had fucked it up. One, he was a hack and a thief, but he was deaf, so he must have just assumed that they did it right. Oops.
It's a kazoo.
Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, hey, I didn't even know if it was supposed to be wrong or not. So, yeah, I didn't even know. But yeah, it was interesting that these guys came across it. I noticed like in the Reddit posted like sometime way back, someone did post a link to the video that I had made, and I don't know if that's how they saw it or if someone just posted a link to the video because of this video afterwards. But interesting that they commented on that because I used to I don't watch as many Let's Players as I used to a long time ago. I kind of just watch like one or two streamers every now and then. That's it. I don't really watch as many Let's Players anymore. I used to watch these guys. These guys like Super Best Friends were like kind of some of the earliest Let's Players that I used to watch. So it's kind of surreal having them mention something that I worked on that wasn't a big deal, but it's interesting seeing content creators bring it up. So yeah, this is a Oney Plays video. I was bored when this I think it was like when was this uploaded? 2025. October 2025, they mentioned it as well in their Bubsy 3D playthrough.
You know that one song in Resident Evil where it's like
The fucked up one in the room?
The reason that song sounds like that is because apparently it was supposed to be like played with a synth pad, but they accidentally chose a trumpet by accident.
It just sounded better.
It wasn't actually. It's so funny how the game of telephone that happens with this stuff. We don't know if it was supposed to be. And like I used like synth sounds for the fix that I did, and I think since then like other people done their own fixes too. I could have swore or done covers of it, maybe using synth, but no one knows it was supposed to be different. Like we don't know that. I didn't know that at all. I just think it's funny that people assume I didn't know anything. I just changed it because I wanted to. I had no knowledge of what was correct or incorrect.
But that's what this game reminds me of. All the music is scary.
Where just every single thing's played with the wrong font, sounds fucked up.
Like, listen to that.
It fucking does.
What is that sound?
Just it's so funny. Yeah, I'd watched Oney stuff in the past too, and so it's just funny saying that they brought that up as well. Okay, this is a video by Gaming in the AM. This person also covered the basement theme as well. R1's replaced music. Was it all bad? The PS1 DualShock Revolution. Gaming through the years. So we're going to take a look at this one briefly.
Even that basement track isn't a lost cause. It's just using the completely wrong instruments. One fan on YouTube fixed it by swapping out...
Yeah, I find it, once again, it isn't like the actual... there's no like official statement that it was using the wrong instruments. There is that one, there's a few comments where they're saying the devs trolled the fake composer, or the deaf composer, by intentionally changing the instruments. But outside of that, there's no official confirmation that it wasn't supposed to have the instruments, the trumpet that it has in the game. So everyone's stating that it had, incorrect instruments, but we don't know. We don't know, and even I, like I said, I didn't know either. So everyone's stating this as a fact, and it's not concrete,
the instrumentation, and suddenly it became one of the most chilling tracks I've heard in this franchise.
Well, I guess for the commenter that wanted the basement...
It's a perfect example of how much weight instrumentation carries.
Yeah, for the commenter that wanted, when I go over the comments, there was someone wanting footage of the game being played with the basement theme in the background, so here you go.
Sometimes even more than the composition itself. So yeah, I think the DualShock soundtrack is fine. Mostly fine, actually.
Okay, this is 7 Worst Crimes Against Music and Video Games by outsidexbox. They also covered the basement theme, the director's cut DualShock version.
DualShock edition, it sounds like this. Yes, exactly like you set your keyboard tone to clown farts and then let your cat walk across the keys. Why was the mansion basement theme so bad? Some suggest it's because the wrong MIDI instrument was used and Sumorogochi, who at the time was claiming to be totally deaf, didn't want to let on that he knew how bad it sounded. Indeed, YouTuber Agent-RedJackal has uploaded a version of the song transcribed and played on a different instrument, which gives you an idea of how the piece was maybe intended to sound.
Yeah, this was uploaded
Much
last year,
better.
2025.
Maybe the ghostwriter did that on purpose to mess with Sumorogochi, because if I wanted to discredit someone who's taking advantage of me professionally, this is how I'd do it.
Yeah, that's the theory. The troll... So many theories. There's the troll theory. There's, you know, they didn't know. No one knew that they used the incorrect instruments. It was a mistake. There's so many theories surrounding this.
Check and mate.
Okay, I'm gonna look over... Oh my god, it's up to 797 comments. It's crazy. And, I even posted... Let's see, this is posted 7 years ago. I uploaded the MP3, if anyone's interested in it, on the original video. If you want to use the fix, the MP3 for the fix for some reason, I do have the MP3 uploaded and a link to it on the original video. So let's go over these comments, because there's so many theories here. I don't know if I'm going to go over 797 comments, of course. A lot of them are just reactions and saying, oh, it's so good, or oh, I like the original better, clown farts and all that. So I'm still getting comments on it to this day. It's just crazy. Let's see, this has made the basement soundtrack one of the most haunting. Not the belly of the beast, but almost there. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of comments that I get like this. You're going to probably see a lot of these. It's like, oh, they kind of treat it more than it really is. Because, like I said, it's not deep. It was just something fun I was curious about that I threw together very simply. And, you know, I guess people really liked it. Some people are like, eh. And either way, it's not anything. It's not a big deal to me. People made it more of a big deal. Jackal made this. Yeah, this is probably someone from Vinesauce. I do stuff in the Vinesauce community, by the way, so there were probably people who found this video coming across this that realized, oh wait, Jackal, Agent-RedJackal, who does stuff with, who is one of Vinny's mods, also did this, the fix for the basement theme. Look down here. I'm going to be clipping out a lot of stuff because there's a lot of comments. Fixed version sounds excellent, but for some reason I like the abomination of a theme more for some reason. Yes, there are people who like the clown farts in the basement theme still. Was there ever an explanation for why it was that bad? There's a lot of theories about that. Evident that execution matters most, this succeeded in finding a diamond in the rough. I thought this was something from Mario. Are you sure these are the correct instruments, or is it just your interpretation of the fix? Like I mentioned, and I commented here, you know, it's just, it was weird. It's weird people are coming to this video, or there are assumptions that I knew that the instruments for the track were wrong. That's the theory, is that, like, the theory that why it sounds the way it is, oh, the incorrect sound font was used. It's not using the right sound font, and that I somehow knew it, and that is not the case. at all. Becomes really ominous. You can feel the infection and all its twisted weirdness through the screen. Yeah, I don't know why just setting it to the choir and adding the reverb completely changed the vibe of it. I have no idea. The change didn't disappoint. It feels very much in line with RE1, and the way it seemed to approach the concept of death and reanimation, eerie yet beautiful. I have a prompt to skip non-music, and it just skips to halfway through the video. Apparently, this is a thing that multiple people have encountered. This is a thing that exists on YouTube where YouTube detects a part of the video as being not music, and then you can skip to the rest of the video. So apparently the fart trumpet version of the soundtrack of the basement theme gets treated as non-music by YouTube. I haven't seen this personally, but a lot of people are claiming this. This doesn't sound much better, to be honest, better than trumpets, but it's still dissonant and not better than the OG. The basement is only 3 rooms anyway, so there's no need to go ham on its track. I mean, like I said, I wasn't intending to try and make a statement by changing it. I wasn't intending for it to be a glorious thing. It is what it is. I remember first hearing this and thinking, what the hell happened from the original release of this game? Sound like a bunch of drunk clowns farting into a tuba. This right here fits way better into the game. Not even the same music, the other was clearly different as it had pauses in it. The difference is, it was probably because, if there were some differences noticed between the original and the transcribed version, it is likely because it is transcribed, and some modifications were made to the MIDI. Some trimming was done in order to not make it sound like a bunch of things, like notes clashing. This still doesn't feel like a basement with the correct instruments. Once again, someone's assuming I knew these were correct instruments in the first place, which they're not. It's just me changing the sound of it. It's more like being in the inner city. So deep that barely anybody lives there. And nobody lives there at all legally. What is this person talking about? A place that's been left to collect dust. Or even hoodlums and local... Yeah, I don't know. Is this a bot comment? YouTube comments, man. Someone recorded on an E-piano, but then someone accidentally changed the instruments to be trumpets. That's what I like to imagine. Yeah, this is the theory, that the wrong instrument was used. Now this is incredible, maybe better than the original. Gives me instant George Romero's A Night of the Living Dead vibes, 1999 remake. I think I've seen a number of the Living Dead movies. I don't remember what the soundtrack is like, but maybe it's similar? Still sounds like shit. All the songs written by the ghostwriter are tolerable, but all the ones he wrote are shit. I don't know. I wasn't trying to make it good. It was just this, like I said, the video itself is for my own entertainment and not anyone else's, and then it just got attention. I think the original basement theme has a sense of corruption, adrenaline, and urgency of looking over your shoulder while being chased down. This version seems very eerie, as if something is sneaking behind you, like a ghost is stalking you, rather than an apex hunter. And I think that's what the composer is trying to portray. Regardless, it's a very good remix. It's not a remix, it's transcribed and modified slightly. See, it sounds like a mess. If you apply this timbre to any melody, it would always sound creepy. To me, scam is still the best theory of why this ended up in the game. Yeah, I don't know. Driver 1 and 2 had mistakes in the final version of the MIDI soundtracks from a conversion process or something like that. My assumption is that a similar, albeit much worse version of that error happened here, especially considering there's only a single instrument in the original version, which surely is a mistake with the MIDI file. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if anyone else has a similar theory. This was the first version of the game I played as a very young kid and made a huge impression on me, obviously. The basement theme, as in the game, is obviously ridiculous, but then I never got that far in the game when I was that age. And honestly, if this was the intended version, I think it is actually very good, but again, I was 6, it was the late 90s, in hindsight this may sound silly, but if you can believe it, I was actually too scared to get very far in the game. I was 6. But I will say, I think the music for the opening section of the mansion, before you go to the guardhouse, is a lot better than the original. Like, way better. It reminds me of The Shining, and I can certainly see how the Ghost composer was influenced by Gyöngyi Ligeti, however the hell his name is spelled. The composer of the Shining soundtrack. The original music isn't bad. It just sounds generic. Mid-90s, generically spooky digital music. I've heard some more tracks. I'm not familiar with the DualShock version of the game because I mostly just played the original, not the director's cut or DualShock. I've heard some of the soundtracks, but I'm not familiar with the entire soundtrack. But there are some tracks that it's divided. The opinions are divided. Some people actually really like the soundtrack, the different sound of it. Other people want those changed as well. Because I had someone in the comments somewhere mention me fixing some of the other tracks, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is just like a silly thing that I did, and it's not even that good. It's imperfect, as you could see when I showed what happens with the transcription software. It's very old transcription software, so there's probably a better way to do it now. Could you somehow theoretically mod this into RE1? I have zero knowledge of PS1 modding. Yeah, I haven't. I don't have experience with console or emulated versions doing modding that way. I have modded Resident Evil 2 on SourceNext, which is the PC port of Resident Evil 2. It probably wouldn't be too hard to mod it into the PC port of Resident Evil 1. As for like the actual like emulated version, I have no idea. If someone wants to do that, they can take the MP3 I linked and have at it. A lot of people seem to get this wrong. It's not Director's Cut version, it's the DualShock version that has this music. As the Director's Cut is the port that eventually went to GameCube, then PS3, PS4, PS5, Xbox. Yeah, I originally thought this was, when I made the video, I thought it was only the Director's Cut. I think sometimes when people when they upload the song, that specific track, it's labeled as Director's Cut, and they forget to add the DualShock version part, so that's where the confusion is. Much better, but I still prefer the original soundtrack instead of this new score. It's simply far superior for the atmosphere and style of the game, and it's just the original, no need to change anything. Yeah, I mean, it was for my own amusement that I changed the track. It was for, like I said, it's not for anyone else. Wasn't trying to make a statement changing it. It's for my own entertainment only. I'm not, me making the fix was not me trying, we should change, the soundtrack needs to be changed, or me trying to say anything about the original soundtrack. It's just a simple thing that I did. I'm curious about the possibility of doing this to the rest of the soundtrack. Many other tracks sound tone deaf. The Mansion Basement theme is just the worst of them, but certainly not the only one. Maybe it has something to do with the composer not being an actual composer. Dude faked being deaf and got caught. People used to call him Japanese Mozart or something when he was actually just using a ghostwriter. Yeah, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of videos going over that whole thing if you're curious about it. Actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, the ghostwriter obviously provided the partitions and had an intention for this song, but the fake deaf fraudster probably just grabbed a random cloud fart simp sound on his keyboard and called it a day. Yeah, I'm wondering what exactly the decision process of the soundtrack was. Because if the composer has a ghostwriter, then is the guy who pretended to be deaf still handling like the actual, the working game to convert it to, music that goes in the game, because that's a whole other process. At least that would explain why a proper musician could compose such an atrocity. Still doesn't explain why no flags were raised on how shitty that song was, though, especially considering how the original song for the Mansion Basement was one of the most chilling and iconic songs of the entire game for me and many other players. I have no idea. I don't know if anyone's actually, I wonder if anyone has actually approached the devs about this particular issue now that a lot of attention has been put on it. I love how since the composer faked being deaf, he had to see this genuinely amazing song being butchered and put into the game that way without being able to do anything about it. Assuming this is what the director's cut version was actually meant to sound like I said, I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. I really don't. I have to wonder why both the original release and director's cut decided to put the scariest music of the game in a pretty uneventful area. Can you upload yourself playing the basement with this music? If it can be modded in, I would do that. I'm sure people have already done it. Otherwise, I could load up the game and play the basement area with the music in it. Here after rewatching GameSpot's video after a long time. It's just like how he hypothesized. The composer ghostwriter behind this was probably aware of the theory, because even though it is exotic, polytonality is plausible if done right. Considering the ghostwriter probably knew what to do, but slapped the trumpet sound from their keyboard, they ignored it, since the fake deaf dude would probably get away with it and be the butt of a joke. If not. I low-key really like this. It has a really unsettling ethereal atmosphere with this really lo-fi white noise. It sounds like something is crawling beside you at all times. I bet this would be pretty great in the game, but I low-key have no coding skills or anything, so I'll just have to wait until someone else does it. I'm leaving this comment to feed the beast. Yeah, I'm sure someone, I don't know if I'll get to it, but I'm sure someone has gotten to it. Due to concept limitations, this was impossible back then, and I guess the director wanted orchestrated music as the HD remake was changed in that way as well. Time shows that the real genius behind the trademark Resident Evil trilogy timeless music was Masami Ueda. Okay, I can see this being actually useful for the basement. Now granted, the director's cut original is what I first heard and thought was the true deal. But still, I think this fits since it does give the basement the mysterious feeling of exploring somewhere dark, dangerous, and full of secrets, even though the basement has little to none of that. Yeah, the basement is not, it's not a big area, it's kind of empty actually, with a few enemies. This reminds me of how early Super Nintendo emulators couldn't properly replicate the wind noise music SFX in both Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, which seemed to have the exact same composition, and to turn the wind into a very creepy droning noise. Yeah, I remember that. I actually think that the droning noise is pretty interesting. Later, emulators fixed this and made the sound into proper wind sound effects. The thing is some people are nostalgic for that creepy droning noise. So some people may feel that it doesn't need to be changed. The truth is, no one remember the song without the clowns though. We all laugh at it, but without the clown parts, this would be just another generic ambience theme. Not bad, not good, just serviceable. I find that fascinating. It's a happy little accident, like a certain legendary sage from another era would often say. Such accident brought us all here in a way. It connected us all. Let us hold hands and sing, brothers and sisters and everyone else. How do you know this is the right instrument? Could be anything, really. I don't. It's not the right. I don't know why people assume I know this is the right instrument. I don't know. I don't know why people assume. Can you make a tutorial on how to do something like this? This whole experiment seems to be useful information for everyone making game music songs. If you want to look at the beginning of this video where I show how to use Amazing Midi, but honestly, I don't know if I would rely on using that. Even from this comment from 5 years ago, there's probably better methods of transcribing music now. If you want to take an MP3 and convert it to a MIDI, this AI stuff, but I don't know if you want to use AI. There's surely other methods that don't need to use AI where you can convert it over into a MIDI. All you have to do is change the instruments, put it into a DAW, digital audio workstation, and apply effects, change the instrumentation, that whole thing. That's something that you would need to know if you look into audio editing. Just look into editing music in a DAW, and that will give you a good idea after you've converted the song like an MP3 into a MIDI, because those usually have a way to edit MIDIs as well. Let's see, how were the instrument changes done, and did you not try to do so for other tracks in the Infamous OST? Wonder how many hidden gems there are with proper instruments. Yeah, I honestly, because of how imperfect it is to do it with Amazing Midi, I don't know if I would try it with the other tracks, to be honest. I came here from a comment on another video. Supposedly a person at Capcom knew the composer was faking his deafness, so he trolled him by changing the sound font to horns. Is that the actual truth of it? I think I saw this comment before, but I forgot about it. He knew that if the composer spoke up about how shitty it sounded, it would have blown his cover, and no one else at Capcom would want to speak up about how bad it sounded and risk offending such an illustrious Japanese composer. Oh my god, well maybe that is the truth of it. Maybe that's the actual truth of it. So as you think about when Capcom got those tracks, maybe discovering the truth about the fake composer, they put everything in a hurry without trying to listen what instrument are used in the song. Since people seem a bit confused over the specifics of the composer in the comments, I would just like to clarify the actual composer is Takashi Nigaki. Samuragochi was a scam artist who pretended the songs as his own and claimed that he was the one composing. 2 years too late, but also wanted to mention that according to Nigaki himself, this whole album was a collaborative effort with several of his colleagues in order to meet the deadline, which explains the varying quality of the soundtrack itself. It's hard to know who exactly did what. That explains a lot. In other words, Samuragochi did nothing. This is all Nigaki. From this video, I think it's safe to say the infamous trumpets were a goof on the developer's part, and they selected the wrong instrument and it just never got fixed. It's such an interesting case study of how music isn't just the composition, but the instrumentation to go along with it. You can have the exact same bass composition in two songs, but chose the wrong instruments and end up with either this or the legendary bad original. A person can write a song, but actually composing it properly is a whole other ballpark itself. Yeah. That's what I did. I would have never come up with the thought that you could fix this theme by tuning their instruments. How'd you figure it out? Anyway, great job, man. So I replied, I was playing around with an audio transcribing program one day, and the topic of the basement music came up. I was actually trying to find where on social media at the time. And of course, this video was uploaded in 2015, and I was barely using Twitter at the time, probably still using Tumblr mostly, and some other places. And unfortunately, those are gone, and I'm not able to get, there's no archived versions of it anymore. So unfortunately, I don't exactly know what happened led me to mess around with the basement theme. But I guess here, this was 7 years ago. It says, one day the topic of the basement music came up, so I wondered if there was a way to replay it, but with different sounds. When transcribed, it became MIDI, so I toyed around with the instruments available for that. Voice strings sounded the best. I say voice strings, but I think it was choir now, or maybe it really was voice strings, but maybe it just depends on the audio editing program I used, because some of them, depending on VSTs it used, it may sound different. But I say voice strings here, could be voice strings or it could be choir ons. Unfortunately, I do not have the original project, so I can't check that myself. If the composer was faking his deafness, imagine how hard he was gritting his teeth, unable to tell people these were the wrong instruments, and this wasn't supposed to be clowns farting in the basement. Perhaps someone from the sound team knew about the fraud and set up the mess on purpose as a challenge for the composer. Yeah, there's many people saying this now, that this was intentional. That they knew he was deaf and faking it, and they wanted to troll him. The ghostwriter probably had enough of Samuragochi sans malarkey and decided to throw this gem in there as a joke. Some of the songs sounded too good to be coming from a deaf person. I think it's more likely that when it got transposed for the MIDI sequencer to go in the game, a developer made a mistake and used the wrong instrument set. But as music is typically one of the last things to go in a game, the time the mistake was noticed, it was too late to go back. It's already gold and headed to printing. The testers aren't really looking for things like, I don't like this basement song. They're looking for bugs and issues. So it gets past testing with little to no mention because it's not a high priority glitch or bug fix. Because who cares if the testers like the song, right? They're not composers, what do they know? Then it gets to the market, and this is before widespread music and meme days. By the time Capcom realizes it's as bad as it's all the way down the line, there's no point in fixing it. That's a logical thread I could see happening to explain this, and if you put that on top of some people perhaps afraid to speak up for fear of offending the deaf genius, it makes even more sense. Just my opinion anyway. Yeah, it's interesting, all the theories about this. So I think there used to be a comment in here, that they came from Castle Super Beast, and I cannot find any more, but I believe that's when I started getting a lot more comments on here. But I think that's it. I think that's all I'll go over here. Alright, thank you guys for tuning in. That'll be it for my basement theme fix coverage video. I've been meaning to say something about it for such a long time, ever since the video got uploaded, and then I started getting so many comments, still getting comments to this day. I've been wanting to correct information about it, my intentions, what I used to fix it. and what I actually knew at the time versus what I knew now. Yeah, I'll probably still get comments on it to this day. I don't know if anyone's gonna cover it anymore or cover the story about the deaf composer. I don't know if the devs are ever gonna make an official statement on what actually happened. There's only just theories for now, but I think after this, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say about the basement theme fix. I'm gonna link the original video and then try and link this one to places where the original video was covered. Yeah, but that's it. That's all I have to say about it. Now you know the truth of the fix for the basement theme, the clowns farting in the basement. Thank you for tuning again. I really appreciate it.